Ms. Barnes, you filed paperwork to run for Congress. Why'd you want to run for Congress?
I am definitely running for Congress now. I am tired of the politics that's going on here in Rhode Island. Other people here in Rhode Island are expressing the very same views I'm expressing. What's going on just alone in the world, in America, the problems that we're having in schools, trying to keep our children safe is an issue. Our pensions are an issue. Our jobs are an issue. Our taxes are an issue. And it seems like nobody is trying to get this issue at least squared away, under control. And I think it's time for somebody like me to step in and get things done. There's no money motive for it for me. I'm content. I don't want to be rich. I'm ready to do the job.
What do you think you bring to the table that maybe some of these other people don't, who have some experience in politics?
A lot of people have experience in politics, but I have life experience. So I understand what the people need. I understand what the people are crying out for. I have life experience where it's happened to me, where I lost a job. I'm struggling. I have kids in school. I have kids that come home and say, you know, I'm scared. What happened? Our school might be next. How can anybody keep us safe? Nobody's asking us how they're going to keep us safe. So, I mean, I'm living this where other people have the experience in politics, which isn't really showing me anything. I'm actually living it where I have to solve the problems, solve the issues. If I don't have a job, I have to figure out a way to come up with the money, a legal way to come up with the money, where politicians have the money and they're still not figuring out legal ways to distribute this money out to make the problem at least level it out or just eliminate the problem.
So you mentioned the school violence issue. What would you do? Do you support like an assault weapons ban, or are there other measures you would take?
Assault weapon ban, we already know that's what's going on, where they're trying to put in some kind of executive order of what I heard. You know, I don't know if that's what's true or not because I'm not in Washington, but there's other issues that need to be more detailed, which is more detailed. If people are going to go buy guns, I think it needs to be more detailed with references. If I know somebody who's crazy, if you know somebody who's crazy, why am I not interviewing the people in the neighborhood where they live at? Why are they not interviewing more family members to say whether or not that person can handle a gun or handle, purchasing this gun? I think there need to be police involvement in this process. Like, how many times has the police been to this address? Maybe get some input on from the police on this person who's applying for this gun. I know a lot of people will say, well, there's other ways people are getting guns, like that they're finding guns or they're buying guns off the streets. That's a whole nother issue. We know that police are also doing police gun stings. So they're also, supplying guns to the streets that they're not getting back doing these stings. So those are going to have to be eliminated. But there's a lot of things you could start off first, which are eliminating where people are having easily access to going and buying legal guns. And if they're mentally not capable of having these guns, eliminate that threat first.
On other issues, on access to abortion, I know that's a big issue in congressional races. What's your stance on abortion?
I feel like people are entitled to whatever it is that they choose to do with their body. So I don't really try to tell people what to do with their body, but I do disagree with trying to totally ban it because of the simple fact that I've known people who have been raped, and I've known people who have been raped and had babies by somebody they had been raped by. So that really, it hits close to home. So I don't try to really opinionate on something like that and people have the right to choose. But I feel like there's other issues more important than abortion that we need to deal with right now, which are definitely guns in school and keeping our kids safe, taxes, pensions, people losing their jobs, corruption. I definitely think those are more important because the more people you have that are homeless, the worse this problem's going to get.
No, you did work for RIPTA, right? You don't work for RIPTA anymore?
I don't work for RIPTA anymore.
So what do you do for work? Yeah.
Right now, I'm still fighting for my job at RIPTA because I was illegally terminated. It doesn't seem like the laws that we have here in Rhode Island are working in my favor, but it doesn't mean that there's not a higher power to make sure that this is over, seen as, yeah, you're going to get your job back or you're going to get your pension. But there's still other things that need to be done, which is making sure the future is set for my kids, your kids, his kids, or, the people of the state of Rhode Island, for them, their families. And that's what my concern is. It goes far beyond just me. I want to make sure we're all taken care of. I will also want to make sure that the people of the state of Rhode Island, where we don't have to leave the state of Rhode Island once we retire or once it's time for us to call it quits at our job. I don't feel like we have to leave the state of Rhode Island once we retire because we're being taxed so bad that we don't have any money to put food on our table. And so we have to go to Georgia, North Carolina, or to Florida. I feel like once we retire here, we love our state, we should be able to stay here. So I believe that we should either eliminate that type of tax on our pensions or at least lower it to make it more affordable for us to stay here after retirement.
I just want to check. So that sounds more like a state issue, but right, you're running for Congress. So, but you're concerned about what's happening with the Rhode Island laws?
With the Rhode Island laws, in regards to Rhode Island laws, maybe we could put in some kind of federal laws on certain state tax laws that in regards to how certain people's pensions are being taxed.
And just to get back to RIPTA, I know you said you were illegally fired. You filed lawsuits against RIPTA. I know you reached a settlement with them years ago, but I think one of the state Supreme Court justices in a ruling a couple of years ago kind of made it sound like you had filed a lot of claims against RIPTA over the years. You were out of work a lot, you reached a settlement, and then we're trying to go back for more. Can you just tell me kind of what happened there? It didn't really paint a flattering picture of you, kind of the court decisions in this case.
Of course not, because that's what happens when you use federal money to line your pockets instead of actually using the federal money for what it's supposed to be used for, which is allowing people with disabilities to actually get on your bus, your city bus, and use the system. And that's what the money was supposed to be used for. I actually got terminated for reporting or trying to report to other government officials, federal, like David Cicilline, Sheldon Whitehouse, Jack Reed, the safety issues, the safety problems, even exactly the day I fell, where for 3 days in a row I was calling because where I was at on the Brewery Parkade, I couldn't let off any wheelchairs, I couldn't let on any wheelchairs, and finally I had to use the bathroom, and when I went to go use the bathroom, I ended up falling. So I ended up with 3 left arm surgeries, a complete right shoulder surgery, a right knee injury.
You fell on the bus?
I fell off the bus, but due to the sidewalk, the area, the street, across the street, just the whole area, for days looked like there was nobody out to shovel the snow in the plaza, plow the street. I was parked about 14 feet from the sidewalk, and it was all snow and ice. I don't have pictures right now, but I wish I would have brought the pictures. But I did report it this days before I even fell, and then I tried to report it again after I fell. So RIPTA just used that as an excuse.
Because you said you got fired for trying to talk to officials about what was happening.
Well, RIPTA didn't say, per se, that that's the reason why they fired me. They just said they fired me because I had a year to get back to work. But nor did they tell the Supreme Court, the Superior Court, or anybody else that I was actually chose 2 jobs within that 1 year of returning back to work after the first left-hand surgery, and they refused to return me back to my job. Then they tried to hit me with a disciplinary, and after the disciplinary, then they denied me again a reinstatement of accommodation because I said, well, if you don't want to allow me back at driving, then you should at least allow me back to cleaning the buses or cleaning the station. They didn't want to accommodate me.
So I guess when people hear this, I guess what should they think? It seems like you've had like a years-long kind of fight with RIPTA over your job. Should that concern people?
It should concern people because the law clearly states, not only state, also in federal, that after a work-related injury, you are entitled to be returned back to your position. In my case, after a work-related injury, they let me choose 2 jobs within 1 year, didn't allow me to return back to my job. It's based off of suitable accommodations, and then use the excuse that I had 1 year to return and I didn't return, and then use the court system to obviously back up whatever they were saying, which is totally illegal, and still go around the whole issue of my complaints of safety and not having access to the very same reason why federal dollars is being given to RIPTA, which is allowing wheelchairs access to transportation, getting them on the bus and off the bus, allowing them to get to work, get to go get their medications, and get to doctor's appointments. And that is my responsibility as a city bus driver at the time, to report that when I can't get them on the bus.